Good afternoon, everybody. I hope we're all doing well. It's another Friday, and I hope you've had a very profitable and productive week. So, my name is Lola Owolabi, and I will be navigating and speaking to you today about legal and ethical collaboration. Okay, so what will we be learning today? We'll be learning how to understand the legal frameworks in collaboration. We'll be learning about key legal concepts, including contracts, intellectual property, and competition laws, and their role in business collaboration. We'll also be looking at identifying ethical issues in collaboration, recognizing common ethical dilemmas such as fairness, transparency, and conflicts of interest that can arise in collaborative business settings. Then we'll be looking at evaluating the risk of legal and ethical non-compliance and understanding the consequences of failing to adhere to legal and ethical standards. And this includes legal penalties, financial losses, and damage to reputation. And sometimes it can actually be criminal issues. And then we'll be applying ethical decision making in business partnerships, which includes developing the ability to make ethical decisions when collaborating with partners, employees, and stakeholders. And then finally, we shall look at creating effective legal agreements for collaboration. When you talk about, your memorandums of understanding, your non-disclosure information, we'll be learning how to draft, manage, and enforce contracts and agreements that ensure both legal compliance and ethical standards in collaborative efforts. And what we can see here, it's legal and ethical collaboration. So definitely there should be a lawyer or somebody with legal experience in the mix concerning this. So let's look at collaboration in business. In the UK, there are business partnerships. You could be a sole trader, which is just by yourself. You could be a partnership, which is two people or more, or you could be a limited company. So collaboration refers to working together with others, which it could be individuals, teams, or organization to achieve common goals. The thing is that you have to be very aware of the legal implications. Yeah. So the importance of legal and ethical considerations is that they are important because they help to ensure that collaboration is fair, transparent, and responsible. Can you imagine, going to a partnership with somebody, putting everything you have into that partnership, and then that other partner just turning around one day and walking away and taking everything? You've got to put in legal parameters to stop that. So you need to protect the interest of all stakeholders involved, from employees to customers and shareholders. I mean, let's say, for example, I can imagine, during the time when Apple was being formed, I'm sure there was some tough, non-disclosures, and even people that work there, and even people that work that have secret recipes like Coca-Cola, KFC, etc. They will have some strong non-disclosures. People that work for celebrities, they have to have some strong non-disclosure agreements that they need to sign so that they don't go and expose everything that they've learned, which could also have, an unfair advantage upon competition. So it is very important. So, what's the role of legal frameworks in collaboration, for example? For those of you who are thinking of collaborating, number one, contracts. The collaboration in the contract often requires formal agreements. Things need to be written down in black and white and possibly drawn up by somebody with legal experience, be it your solicitor, a legal clerk, or something. So, contracts define, as an example, the responsibilities, rights, and expectations of all parties. Now, intellectual property is one. Let's say, for example, you're an inventor. You've got to protect that invention. So, you've got to prevent other people copying it. You understand? So it protects, creates, it protects creations and inventions that may be shared during collaborations, e.g., patents, trademarks, and copyrights. So my organization, Proud to Be Me, in the UK, I realized that there was another company registered on Company House with the name Proud to Be Me. They were a community interest company, and I thought this is too similar to us. So I wrote to Companies House. They are the ones who monitor all companies, registered companies in the UK. And I complained, and they said to me that, yes, Mrs. Owolabi, you are right. So the other company had to change their name. So you need to be on the lookout for such things like that. And such things like that are also along the lines of competition laws. You have to ensure that collaboration doesn't lead to anti-competitive practices like price fixing or market manipulation. And people do that. People that, for example, are have input into share. When people fix the share price of things like that, it's a criminal offense. So we have to be very careful. And then we look at confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements, or which we call NDAs. They protect sensitive information shared during collaboration. So if you get, for example, if you get staff coming in, they have to sign an NDA as an example, so they don't go and leak all your secrets. So the benefits of legal frameworks are as follows. It minimizes risk of disputes. It ensures mutual understanding and respect between partners and protects each party's assets, ideas, and interests. So if you're collaborating, it is very important that you look at these legal frameworks, very important. So ethical considerations in business collaborations are as follows. There must be honesty and transparency. There must be clear and truthful communication about intentions, goals, and potential risks. Everything's got to be on the table. There must be fairness. There must be, you know, ensurance that all parties are treated fairly with equitable access to opportunities and rewards. And then we have integrity. We must maintain high moral standards by keeping commitments and being accountable. And then we must have respect for the wider audience, our stakeholders. We must consider the broader impact of our decisions on the employees, the customers, and the community. So, legal and ethical risk in collaboration. Potential risks of non-compliance include the following: legal issues, breach of contract, somebody goes to leak stuff out, IP, intellectual property dispute. Somebody says, I'm the one who did that recipe. Another person says, I'm the one who did it. Then you have things like antitrust violations and labor law violations. And then you have things like reputational damage, slander and libel. Ethical misconduct can damage the company's personal or public image. It can lead to loss of trust, customers, or investors. And then we have financial penalties. Legal disputes can lead to costly settlements, fines, or lawsuits. So guess what? It's better to avoid all of that in the beginning. So examples of companies facing legal or ethical challenges, you know, HP, Hewlett Packard, recently, there was a British company they were working with. You can go and Google this. They bought the company for maybe 7 billion, but after doing their due diligence, they realized that this company is only worth 1 billion, and they took the company to court. Now, the owner of the company, a British man, can't remember his name, he was in US court for a long time. They found him not guilty in criminal court, but civil case was taken against him. But unfortunately, the defender died actually in a yacht accident a few months ago, or was it last year? Go and Google HP. They had a big issue with this company. So we have lots of companies who have taken people to court for infringing on their copyright, infringing on their name. Nando's in the UK took a chicken company restaurant to court for infringing on its name. There's lots of companies like that. I'm sure you could find some in Nigeria who have done the same thing. So companies can be penalized for violating competition laws, ethical violations, or breaching contracts. What are the strategies for legal and ethical collaboration? Everything must be clear. Everything must be concise. There must be clear communication and expectations. We have to ensure that all parties understand their roles and responsibilities from the outset through clear written agreements. I remember somebody said once when I was starting my business, if it moves, sign it. Make sure you understand that everything coming out of your company, you have a look at it as an example, especially when your company is new. You don't want any of your staff putting you into trouble. You have to make sure that you participate in ongoing monitoring and auditing. There must be regular checks to ensure compliance with legal and ethical standards throughout the collaboration. And then there must be conflict resolution mechanisms. Now, I'm blessed to be an accredited mediator, and it's really important that we try and avoid mediation. Let us put everything in place so that there are no arguments. You understand? And when there are arguments, then we know where to go. So conflict resolution mechanisms, they establish these processes by resolving conflicts early and fairly. And then we have training and education, which train employees and partners on legal and ethical best practices to prevent misunderstanding and issues. So this is a really short session today, but in a business collaboration, you discover that a partner is violating a contract term. What steps would you take to address the issue, and how would you ensure it doesn't happen again in the future? So, prevention is better than all the mess that comes out after. So try as much as possible to prevent. Make sure everything is written down. Make sure you are both on the same hymn sheet. If it's multiple partners, make sure everybody is of the same understanding to avoid all these issues. So that was a very quick dive through legal and ethical collaborations. So what we looked at was understanding legal frameworks and collaboration, learning about key legal concepts, contracts, intellectual property, competition laws, and the role in business collaborations. That's why people go heavy on people who are taking what the designers do, the Louis Vuittons, Prada, and copying them, because it's trademark infringement. It's copyright infringement. You understand? And then we have to make sure that we bring to the forefront fairness, transparency, and conflict of interest. Imagine you've made an invention and somebody just goes to another corner and copies it. It's not right. That's all your hard work. You understand? So we've got to make sure that we know where we stand legally and bring in the right legal support as and when. So hopefully today you would have learned about understanding legal frameworks in collaboration, identifying ethical issues in collaboration, evaluating the risk of legal and ethical non-compliance, and applying ethical decision making in business partnerships, and then creating eff- effective legal agreements for collaboration. Now, as I said earlier, it's always important to hire a lawyer for this part. Always important. So I hope today has been useful. This is just the guide. Most of the work is for you to go and do your research and your review upon, but I hope it's been useful. Thank you once again for your time. Have a wonderful weekend, and God bless you.